So first off, spoiler warning. I'll be honest with you guys. So many things happened in this episode that I was way too excited to only pick one single thing to talk about. As such, I've instead decided to break down all of the things. Enjoy. Just before we begin though, a lot of you watch my channel regularly yet don't subscribe. Subscribing not only really helps out the channel, but ensures you don't miss any of my videos. And if you want to help out that little extra, I have a Patreon with some awesome perks in the description. Now back to the video.
Come on, Eda, we gotta fly!
Okay, first of all, I need to quickly address that we really got Amity's new haircut in the intro. Guys, I'm not kidding when I say I screamed. With that out of the way, seeing as this episode was all about Palismen, I think it makes the most sense to kick things off by discussing everything we learned about them. So in this episode, we see Palismen choose their partners. Normally witches would carve their own, but as the Palismen wood they're carved out of is becoming harder to find, Eda gets the Bat Queen to allow the Hexside children to adopt abandoned ones. It's very likely that the wood is hard to find due to Belos harvesting the trees for Palismen life essence. Or maybe they're naturally in decline due to wild magic dying out. The Palismen are drawn to a witch's convictions and goals, and will partner with who aligns most with their own. Unfortunately for Luce, she's at a crossroads in life and doesn't know where she wants to be. This results in her not being able to match up to any of the Palismen's wavelengths, leaving her totally empty-handed. However, Eda actually ends up managing to, find some Palistrum wood.
Let's just say that the Bonesboro Garden Club was robbed by us!
And brings it home for Luce to carve as a surprise after seeing her struggle. Let me know what animal you guys think her Palismen will turn out to be. Not to be a basic witch, but I'm thinking owl. While she may still be without a Palismen, someone rather surprising got one in her stead. I am of course talking about the Golden Guard, or should I say, Hunter. We learned some absolutely crazy information about everybody's new favourite character in this episode. Apparently this boy is a powerless witch, and so were a lot of his ancestors. While he refers to Belos as his uncle, it appears as if Belos might have taken him in, and that they aren't actually blood related.
I never thought I'd have a future in a world like this. But then, Belos found me.
This totally does raise the possibility of him being part human, or him being related to another powerless creature, and that perhaps he was born without a bile sac. I think he definitely has some witch DNA though, judging by his link ears. So how does he even magic then, bro? Hunter reveals that all of his power comes from his staff, and while it may not say much about him, it certainly says a lot about Belos. He obviously shares a very similar staff, which emanates the same magic aura. As I mentioned in my recent video on Belos, who we'll get to in a moment, we don't actually see him use magic without his staff. There's more than a good chance that Belos too is completely powerless, and could easily be the human Philip Witterbane, if the hair and accent weren't already a dead giveaway, just saying.
This is the Titan's will.
Perhaps the most surprising reveal of all though is Hunter's affinity for wild magic. He seems to have researched it extensively, accidentally telling Belos he had heard of techniques involving harnessing it, and knowing what Luce was up to with her spell, due to reading up on the same wild magic literature as her. I mean, he even knows the history of it more than Luce does. As a side note, I find it really interesting that a glyph can function differently in conjunction with objects such as plants. So his interest in wild magic seems to be telling us that he has some kind of special connection to the Isles like Luce does. As a powerless witch, and with his new Palismen, it's likely we'll even see him start to draw glyphs himself. Why would the Isles connect with him though? I believe this is because Hunter is actually a pure-hearted individual, just like Luce, except he's been lied to all his life and led down the path of evil. He really does seem genuinely kind and caring. As Palismen are drawn to convictions and goals, I think this cutie was drawn to his passion for wild magic. As such, Hunter could certainly turn out to be a very powerful wild witch later on in the series. Sure, he may not be evil, but let's move on to someone who is, Emperor Belos.
Knock, knock, human.
In the very first scene of hunting Palismen, we see the Coven heads gathered in one of the rooms inside the Emperor's castle. This is the same room where the door to the human realm is being rebuilt, and is only one door away from the throne room. Notably, we can already see automatons being used to guard it. More interestingly, it's revealed they're all part of a plan to purify magic under the Coven system, and they too are working towards the Day of Unity. As a reward for their efforts in recruiting witches to join their respective covens, they're shown a vision of what's to come. Now, the Day of Unity seems to be a very literal merging of both the human realm and the demon realm. You know, Star versus finale style. Belos saying that the worthy shall inherit a utopia free of wild magic very much leads me to believe he wants to use the Earth to completely nullify wild magic, as we saw it do so when Luce tried to use it on Lilith during their duel. Sorry if any of you guys live in Connecticut, by the way, which Luce confirms is where the portal connects to.
What? Did I expect to be a witch back in Connecticut?
I'm honestly still convinced that Belos is a false prophet, and not legitimately connected to the Titan. If anything, it looks like Belos is drawing the essence out of the Titan, and destroying it. And this would make sense. Wild magic comes from the Titan, or rather the Isles itself, and bringing it to a wild magic nullifier like Earth could very well end it. If it wasn't already obvious before, there's something very wrong with our dear Emperor. We finally get to see this scene play out from the first Season 2 trailer, in which Belos writhes in anguish while something appears to emerge from his chest. Presumably, whatever was emerging is responsible for his increasingly dire condition. As I mentioned in my previous Belos theory video, it does seem more likely he's possessed than cursed to me. He specifically states that these outbursts are painful, not my outbursts. And I think it was left intentionally vague. Also, did anybody else catch those cameos by Sprig Planter from Amphibia and Remy Remington from Big City Greens? The Golden Guard has good taste, apparently. No PS5 though, maybe it's in Bofa.
You're actually weirdly endearing.
I hope you enjoyed this video, and likes are greatly appreciated if you did. Subscribe for more awesome content like this, and comment with your thoughts and theories down below. And again, my Patreon is in the description. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.